Hey guys, so it seems that the one thing a lot of people talk about, no matter what they talk about, the one common thing that a lot of people will say about some of the discussions is you can't really say certain things online, whether it's Facebook or Twitter, without somebody apparently taking it the wrong way or looking at it from a different view lens, if you know what I mean. And one of the more prolific, things that gets debated and, back and forth between, fans and viewers and, people that just want to, have their opinions or, want to basically call people out because they see them being this way instead of the way they're supposed to be, is wrestling, professional wrestling. And one of the things that really got under people's skin a little bit, of course, is what happened with Big Swole and Tony Khan. And this, of course, brought up something that, Just Alyx, the Just Alyx Central YouTube channel and Twitter page, and, as well as on Facebook of Alyx's World and everything, this brought up a discussion and somebody chimed in, and basically Alyx's response to that was, man, you see here, I can't really say anything without people taking it, the wrong way. Because to him, he wasn't saying it in a way that made him sound like, what this person perceived him to be. But again, this is just an example of the fact that you can't really say anything online, without somebody, coming after you and calling you out, basically, for something that basically you weren't really trying to allude to. But here's what happened. So this was posted today at 10:40 a.m. Pacific time. This was posted today at 10:40 a.m. Pacific time. This is basically what kind of started it a little bit. This is from the Twitter page Grammy Allen, which is at Sideways 66779. This is what they said in replying to Alyx and what Alyx had to say. Now, let me see if I get this in order here. Okay, so this is what he had to say in reply to something that Alyx said. And I quote, it says, "At least his losses against Roman are believable. Like at Survivor Series, would you rather have Roman beat Big E or Big E beat Roman? Because character-wise, Roman is the logical answer." Now, what Alyx was alluding to, apparently, with what that person was responding to, what I'm assuming Alyx was alluding to is, from a character perspective, the best people that, are champions that should be winning their matches are the ones that, from a logical standpoint, have the more character development, and from a story perspective, have the more story built around them in a more proper way. Now, Alyx basically, this is what he said. This is what he said, I believe, in response to what Grammy Allen had to say. This is what Alyx had to say about 5 hours ago. About 5 hours ago. This is what he had to say in response to what Grammy Allen said. This is what he said in response, and I quote, "If there is anyone," and he capitalized anyone, "who should beat Roman Reigns, it should be Big E. But I get your logic. In a scenario where those two were to fight, you go with the one who has the most important story. Roman does, so yeah, he'd win." Again, basically saying that right now, from a storyline perspective, you go with the one you're most invested in. In that case being Roman Reigns, the head of the table, the tribal chief. Now, here's the thing. Alyx had a response to his response to Grammy Allen, on Twitter. Alyx had a response to his response to Grammy Allen. And this response came from Jamara or at Jamara 23732. This is what at Jamara said in response to Alyx's response to Grammy Allen, aka what's his Twitter name again? AKA at Sideways 66779. This is what Jamara responded to Alyx after Alyx responded to Sideways 66779, and him basically saying about the logicness of, hey, you go with Roman from a story perspective, not Big E, because Big E hasn't gotten there yet. Because what Alyx was saying to Grammarly is that, look, if there is anyone that should be Roman Reigns, it should be Big E. Because, you know, the way they built Big E up in the past year, Big E logically would be the one that should dethrone Roman and become Universal Champion. But because the scenario is not there just yet, you know, what Alyx is saying is that in a scenario where those two were to fight, the logical conclusion is you go with Roman Reigns. Because he has the most important story. It's a story to where the guy is holding on to one of the premier, if not the premier championships in WWE and all of pro wrestling. And he has yet to lose, you know, clean in the middle of the ring. He has yet to submit. He's yet to be pinned. He is undefeated. So logically, from a storyline perspective, his is the most important for whoever is chosen to dethrone him. Now, like I said, Jamara responded to Alyx's response to Grammarly Allen, aka at Sideways 66779. This is what Jamara said, and that's at Jamara 23732. This is what Jamara said to Alyx when Alyx's respond to Gamera and Allen. This is what Jamara had to say. And I quote, as I get to that page here, if I can. This is what he said, and I quote. And this was to Alyx. It wasn't just to Gamera and Allen. It wasn't to Gamera and Allen. It was to just Alyx Central. This is what he said to just Alyx. He said, and I quote, "Quit being an AEW kiss ass. AEW is no black wrestlers in line to be, or has," he meant to say has, I guess. But this is what he said. Let me quote this. This is his response, like I said, to just Alyx. This is what he said. And this is why you can't even say anything, you know, sensible or logical online anymore. Not just, you know, with anything else, but with pro wrestling, because some people will take it the wrong way. But this is what this is what this Jamara 23732 said to Alyx, and I quote. He said, "Quit being an AEW kiss ass. AEW has no black wrestlers in line to become AEW World Champion anytime soon. Big E won Money in the Bank, IC title, Intercontinental title, WWE title, not to mention Xavier Woods is King of the Ring. No boot licking." So what he's trying to argue is that, you know, what this Jamaron is trying to argue towards Alyx, and this is why Alyx says, hey, look, I can't even say anything logical online without somebody misinterpreting it. You know, what he's trying to point out is, oh, if AEW's so special to you, Alyx, if you love kissing up to AEW so much, oh, Tony Khan, can you give me a job? You know, if you like kissing up to him so much, then why hasn't he put any black wrestlers in the world title picture? Or why hasn't he made any black wrestlers the world champion or the TNT champion? You know, his logic is, look, you may not like WWE, and yes, WWE may, you know, have made some mistakes here and there, but at least they're not, you know, they're not, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? They're not deprogressing. They're not deprogressing. They're progressing. They're not de-evolving. They're evolving. And look, we'll give WWE credit. Yes, they have woken up in the past decade or so and have given African Americans and Latinos, you know, the opportunity to be at the top of this industry. There is no doubt about it. But the point that Alyx and others have, you know, have basically came out and said time and time again, and they are correct in this. They are correct in this, the one thing they have come out and said time and time again is the WWE has been around for over 50 years. 50 years. When they were the Capital Wrestling, or when they were Continental Wrestling or Capital Wrestling Association or whatever they were called originally, and then they went to being the WWF, then the WF or the WWF, and now WWE. In those 50 plus years, they've only had 4, if not 5, if not 6, count them, world champions under their belt. That's right. 5, if not 6, if not 7 under their belt. And that's counting all the championships that are considered world championships, under the WWE brands. That's counting all the world championships under all the WWE brands, and that includes NXT. I mean, look at the list. Look at the list. Kofi Kingston, Big E, Bobby Lashley, Mark Henry, world champion, Bobby Lashley, ECW champion, Keith Lee, NXT champion. The point is, they have had world champions, they have had world champions holding those titles for their brands. And the thing is, yes, they should have had more as time went on. They should have had more African Americans, Latinos, Asian Americans, being the world champions, Native Americans being the world champions. I get that. They should have had more, being the champions. There's no doubt about that. I get it. A lot of people get it. But the thing is, the thing is, what I'm trying to say is what Alyx and everybody else is trying to point out is in their history, and this is what I was trying to say before I almost lost my train of thought there. I do apologize. I was just checking something on my computer. But what Alyx and everybody is trying to say is in those 50 years, you've had only 6 in total when you count all the world titles in all WWE's history and across, not just the WWE title, the WWE WWF title, but all the world titles combined under all the brands. You've only had 4 to 6 world champions. You've had 2 African American, NXT world champions in Keith Lee and Big E. Am I missing anybody? Let me know. As far as the world title goes, you've had Booker. You've had, Mark Henry, holding that belt. All right? When it comes to the WWE title, Kofi. You've had Kofi. You've had Big E. I mean, Ezekiel Jackson being the ECW world champ at one point. You get what I'm saying? They have had world champions. Bobby Lashley was an ECW world champ too. The point is they have had African American world champions. Maybe not as much as they should and everything, but they've had them. But what Alyx and all of them are trying to get at is in the 50 plus years they've been around, there should have been more than just 6 to 7 world champions, of African American, descent. Or even Latino descent. There should have been more. There should have been a true diversity of culture holding world titles in that company. That's what he's trying to get at. That's what he's trying to mention. Okay? That's what he's trying to mention. And what people are trying to tell, those that come out and criticize him for pointing out that obvious situation, what they're not understanding, what Alyx and JD and OTR Central and all of them are trying to point out, is that AEW eventually is going to get there. And by reputation could end up getting there a lot sooner than what people are expecting. It just takes time and patience. And that's another thing that these, people that criticize the AEW fans or those that support AEW and wanted to get better. They look at the fact that, JD says it's long-term booking for AEW. We just got to wait and be patient. But yet when people tell JD it's long-term booking, we need to be patient with WWE, he criticizes them. And look, people have a right to their opinion. There's no doubt about that. I've said that several times before. But the reason JD would criticize that, the same thing he says positively about AEW, when the reason he criticizes that same thing being said to him about WWE is because how many times in his eyes and in many fans' eyes have we given basically WWE a chance to prove us wrong, and yet they drop the ball. How many times? More than I think anybody could count, right? That is why JD is more positive and more accepting of AEW when it comes to just wait, be patient, long-term booking, and all that. And not, when it's meant, and not when somebody tries to defend that same kind of philosophy for WWE. Because of WWE's history of dropping the ball so many times. The thing is, ladies and gentlemen, the thing is this. I get where a lot of fans are coming from. I really do. When they criticize the AEW supporters, I do. But AEW has shown to be more progressive in doing things, unlike other promotions like WWE, at times like Impact, NWA, even those that they are partnered with, like the NWA. They've been shown to be a little bit more progressive in doing things. Yeah, do they still have to work out a lot more kinks here and there? Oh, absolutely. But that's the thing about a company. The more kinks you work out, the better you're going to get. The more mistakes you make and learn from, the better you're going to get. And AEW seems to be more of that kind of a company that we want WWE to be, that looks at the mistakes they've made and be like, oh yeah, maybe we shouldn't do that again. Let's try something different. And AEW has proven to do that. They have. And when it comes to not having, a Latino world champion or an African American champion or an Asian champion or a Japanese champion, when it comes to not having that just yet, to some, it seems disrespectful. It seems, not logical. It makes AEW look like a hypocrite and nothing more than a fraud. But the thing is, they're waiting. They're biding their time. Why do you think they're featuring Powerhouse Hobbs, as much as they are? Why do you think they put him into important storylines over the past year? Because they see AEW World Champion written all over him. They do. Why do you think they're featuring the Acclaimed as much as they are? Why do you think they're featuring them? Because they see future AEW World Tag Champs written all over them. And with someone like Max Kastler, they see somebody that could potentially be a future AEW World Champ, if not TNT Champ, in the near future as well. Because of the fact that he's good in the ring and he has that charisma. So they're seeing the future, but they're not, rushing it just to make themselves look good. They're not pushing somebody because they want to make themselves look good in front of the public eye, because it makes the public relations, department look great and everything. Like, see, we made African American world champ again. Da da da! How good we are. They're not doing it to basically kiss up, to kiss up to certain people or to certain places or sponsors and all that. They're not doing it. They're not doing it that way. They're not doing it for that, I should say. What they're doing is they're building towards it. The time is coming. The time is coming. And again, some people will say that a lot of folks are being hypocritical, saying this kind of stuff about AEW and and being positive about it, and being the opposite when people say it about WWE. Again, like I said, WWE historically, in the past decade or so, has had opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to prove people like Alyx, people like JD, people like OTR Central, people like myself completely wrong. And they don't. They drop the ball. They drop the ball many, many times. And folks have gotten to a point now where they are basically sick and tired of it. And AEW right now, even though it's celebrating its third year, happy anniversary to All Elite Wrestling, by the way, they have at least in the short time around have proven that they are willing to take their time correctly. that they are willing to do things the right way. And they are willing to learn from their mistakes. You know, it's not somebody coming up here and kissing Tony Khan's ass. What it's about is trust. It's about the fact that AEW, even in the short time, in existence, has gained the trust of fans more so than WWE has in the past decade, to where they could pretty much where they've pretty much been given, as I said, opportunity after opportunity after opportunity to prove fans wrong and correct the mistakes they've made. The thing is, they've had that opportunity, and yet they've dropped the ball, which is why when you try to tell fans like a JD, a Salamonster, a Just Alyx, an OTR Central, when you try to tell them, hey, give it time, long-term booking when it comes to WWE, the reason they're negative about that, about, it being applied to WWE more so than AEW, is because WWE has lost their trust. It's all about trust. It's all about correcting yourself, winning back that trust, and doing it the right way, and not doing it because I want to make my company's image look great in front of the public. Look at us, we're progressive. No, you take your time, you do it the right way. And by the way, just to let you know, Tony Khan, has said many times that he grew up as a fan of Southern Wrestling, right? What was the premier company of Southern Wrestling, that competed against WWE? NWA, which evolved into NWA, WCW, and then just WCW? Gee, what did they do under the Bill Watts era? Because all the criticisms you could give Bill Watts, and he's deserved them, for trying to make things get back to the old school way of thinking when he was running the ship. What did Bill Watts booking along with Dusty Rhodes, what did Bill Watts do to show that they're willing to progress? They're willing to show that they're different. They're a true alternative. What did he do? He made Ron freaking Simmons the first true African-American world champion for a major promotion. He did. He did. He didn't have to, but he did. And it got people talking and praising WCW for doing the one thing that on many occasions, even back then, WWF had the opportunity to do, but they didn't. And if you want more historical significance, the NWA has had African-American world champions as well, that just never really publicly recognized because of what was known, before it became famously known as Dusty Finishes. They had won championships, but then had those championships taken away because of, like I said before, it became famously known for being utilized under his booking watch in the NWA, Dusty Finishes. They've had African-American world champions, they just weren't fully recognized because, the championship went back to the person they beat them for because of Dusty Finishes or controversialness or whatever the case may be. But they've had them. They have had them, and some of them are very recognizable names. So, yes, the World Championships of the NWA, which was at one time the pristine championship in all wrestling, was in the hand of several African Americans. The only problem is that they just weren't recognized due to technicalities. And because of those technicalities, you can't look in the history book and see someone like a Bobo Brazil as the world champion. Because at one time, for a brief moment, he was. He was. And again, what Alyx and JD and all of them are trying to point out here, what they're trying to point out, ladies and gentlemen, is in the 50 plus years of the WWE's existence, they've only had, in total, 4 to 7 world champions. 4 to 7 world champions, of African American descent. 4 to 7 world champions. And this also includes the WWE champions and the world champions that have held other world titles under WWE. Mark Henry, ECW world champion, became world heavyweight champion. Big E, NXT world champion, became WWE champion. Bobby Lashley, ECW world champion, WWE champion. Okay? You see what I'm saying? Those guys won world titles twice, but under different brands of WWE. So they've been in that area. They've been in that category. The thing is with AEW, they want to get there. They want to get there, and they want to do it in a way that WWE, I should say, has never attempted to do. See, they only have a single world title. A single world championship, unlike WWE. And by having that singular world championship, they want to make sure that whatever African American they choose to become the world champion, or whatever Latino or Japanese wrestler they choose to be the world champion, is the right choice and at the right time. And that they don't rush it because, oh, we want to make our public image for our company look good. No. They want to take their time, and they want to do it the right way. And they want to do it in a way where they know when it's all said and done, the end result will be satisfactorily accepted by the fans. So no, this is not about, as this person calls it, being a kiss ass or anything like that. It's about being, progressive and doing it the right way and not for public image. That's what it is. That's what it is. So again, reading this, and I'll provide a link to it down below. This is just another example of you're trying to, agree with what's logically the right thing, from one person, from what one person says and everything. This is just an example that even with wrestling, you can't say something that, makes sense, makes logical sense, creatively and storyline-wise, without somebody coming at you and basically saying something that, doesn't even have anything to do with what you're saying, but does have something to do with maybe what you said earlier, and not getting where you or anybody else is coming from. So to me, again, this is just an example of, sometimes, doing private messages or direct messages is the best way to go. That's what it is. So my suggestion to anybody else out there, if you want to send Alyx or JD your thoughts on something, best way is through their email or through the direct or private messages on Twitter or Facebook, because that way you avoid any criticism or unfathomed criticism from those that don't get exactly what you're trying to say from a logical standpoint. So let me know what you guys think, though. What are your thoughts on this whole scenario? How do you feel about what this person said to Alyx? Do you think they took it the wrong way? I do. I honestly do. And I'm not saying that to kiss up to Alyx. I'm saying that because I respect what Alyx says, what JD says, and all of them, because we all have an opinion. We all have an opinion, and I see where they're coming from. I really do. But what are you guys' thoughts? Comment below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, check me out at my Teespring store, for merchandise and everything you could purchase to start out this new year of 2022. Also check me out at BW Roses on VENMO. Check me out at patreon.com/BW Roses. Support me with the $1, $3 tier. Also check me out at BW Roses discussions on all your favorite audio podcast platforms out there, except for Pandora. And if you are listening to me on Spotify or any podcast affiliate that has video option, you can also listen as well as watch the podcast, at the same time. If not, choose one over the other on places like Spotify. And if you're listening to the podcast on Anchor.fm, listener support has been activated if you want to help me out there. Also, check me out at Venmo at Brian-Walmer-2. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. Comment below, live chat during the premiere, and I'm out.